As stated on Tuesday morning, Aston Villa and Jack Grealish are in advanced conversations with Manchester City about the proposed record signing of Jack Grealish to the Etihad Stadium. Pep Guardiola is a big fan. Jack Grealish is heavily looking at the move. There is no animosity at Aston Villa. He isn't pushing in a transfer request strike kind of way, but the idea of playing for Pep Guardiola at the current champions of England is a huge pull and a huge drive, and something that Jack Grealish desires to do, to strut his stuff in the Champions League and be in with a genuine chance of picking up a Premier League winners medal. The talks are advanced, as we say, over the past 3 to 4 days. They're getting into the finer details of what it would take. Publicly, Aston Villa, as stated by Dean Jones on the Done Deal show, are telling people that he is not for sale unless it's well over £100 million. In reality, somewhere in the region between 80 to 85 million pounds is the mooted amount that it would take to get this deal done and over the lines. Now, Manchester City have grown in confidence in recent days that they can get this deal completed as early as next week, giving Jack Grealish around about a week or so to integrate with his new teammates before the start of the season. Of course, as confirmed this morning, and everybody knows because they follow his Instagram, he's still away currently on holiday and isn't even back at training with Aston Villa. So whether or not he'll be ready for the opening game of the season remains to be seen. But City are growing in confidence. A lot of that is because they believe the head of Jack Grealish has been turned. The desire for him to move to one of the biggest clubs in the world in a contemporary sense of the word is there. Personal terms are going to be no problem, and or they're agreed, depending upon what report you read. Of course, now Sam Lee, very credible Sam Lee from The Athletic, spoke about this on Tuesday. Also, Dean Jones, as we mentioned, Peter O'Rourke today. Fabrizio Romano has now come and confirmed that these talks should actually be resolved in a matter of days. It's at a point now where if it isn't resolved now, it isn't going to be. Aston Villa have offered a brand new bumper deal only 12 months after he signed the new one. This new deal is worth somewhere in the region of £200,000 per week. Aston Villa do want to keep him. Aston Villa are trying to build for the future. And of course, they see Jack Grealish as the linchpin. They see him as the crowning jewel in what would be, hopefully Villa's greatest team of a generation or two. But we're going to delve into it in some more detail. We want to take your calls. We want to hear from you. We want your thoughts. We want your feelings on this. Do you think Jack Grealish will end up being a Manchester City player as early as next week? Make sure you hit that like button to support all of us independent YouTube creators. Subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notifications. Here we go. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Football Terrace. If you're watching over on Twitch, make sure you're following. If you're watching over on our YouTube channel, make sure you're hitting the like button and subscribing. Lots to talk about tonight. A bit of a live Q&A as well. Any questions that you've got, feel free to fire them in to me. I want to know what you're thinking and feeling about this big deal that is picking up pace. Large claims that it can be done, that it could be dusted, that it could be over the line. It could be over the line by the end of next week. Of course, if we go through what Fabrizio Romano has had to say, and it's interesting, his words on this afternoon were Man City are now in direct contact with Aston Villa. Negotiations ongoing to reach an agreement. Not going to take long. Decision to be made in the next days. Now, that may mean the early part of next week. It depends on whether or not parties are going to be working over the course of the weekend. At this stage of the transfer window, typically this happens, and typically you see people working through these periods. But it's certainly it's going to be an interesting and enthralling next few days. Lots of stories are going to start to break now. You're going to see them. A lot of the mainstream media outlets are going to go with this now. on Tuesday morning, myself and Dean were talking about it. I know the Athletic were talking about it, and there was a lot of anger and a lot of frustration, especially from Aston Villa fans that kind of mistake the advanced talks. Man City are feeding into the ether that they're confident they can get the deal done. Now, this doesn't guarantee it's going to cross the line. It doesn't guarantee that it will complete, that it will 110% happen. Everybody is aware of this. Everybody knows this. But Man City are confident they can get it done. It's going to take a huge amount of money, 80 to 85 million pounds bare minimum, to get this deal completed. We've got a poll running right now asking whether or not you think this deal is going to be done. It says, do you believe Man City will secure Jack Grealish next week? 66% say yes, 34% say no. I would love to know why you think yes or no. Like, legitimately, I want to understand why you think yes or no on this deal. Do me a big favor, though, and make sure that like button has been hit here. We've got a super chat that says, give me stats on Kounde versus Raphael Varane. We will certainly, we can certainly do that. We can certainly do that, and we can certainly put that up and do a little bit of a. 1 second here. Let me just. I can actually. I'm going to go and get that ready now as we speak. We'll do that a little bit later on in the show. That'd be quite cool, actually. I'll enjoy that. We can go through it. You guys have got to select the stats, though. The viewers have got to select the stats for that. I think that's the best way of doing it. I want to go through some of your live comments here, as always. And we haven't really done very much of a phone in this week. Man like Josh, one of the longest standing members on the Football Terrace, says, I think 80 million or less for Jack Grealish would be dropping the asking price for Declan Rice. Yeah, I mean, of course, different positions, but I totally get you. I think it certainly would help Chelsea's pursuit of Declan Rice. There's no doubt about it. Declan Rice is a little harder, though, because Declan Rice was a starter for that England team throughout. City will try and pull on this and pull on that. But yeah, it certainly will help. There is no doubt about it at all. I think the key here is, I suppose it's, if Chelsea Football Club had a prolific number 9 right now, they'd go all in and get Declan Rice, I think. Because they're still trying to sign a number 9. Although in the last 24 hours, it's really been played down a lot, like they're not going to do it. That could change things. But with City, City won the league last year without a high functioning number 9 in terms of a goal scorer. So do they desperately need one going into this campaign? I'm not fully convinced. So I think Jack Grealish seems to be their more realistic target and more serious target at this moment in time. Centurion 100 points is the funny thing is we don't need Grealish. Well, I think you do. I think you do, because one thing I've noticed so often when it comes to football in my life is the speed of which a team can decline, the speed of which a team can suddenly just become old. Also, there's staleness. The Liverpool front three are a prime example of this. For 2.5 years, as a collective, they were the most together, most integrated front three. When I say integrated, I mean integrated with each other. They fit each other like hands to glove for me in Europe. Last season and a bit, they've gone very, very stale. They're still the same players. They haven't got particularly old, but they need to be rejuvenated. I think Jota was doing that at the early parts of last season until he picked up his injury, and then it just kind of coughed and spluttered after that. So I think there's an element with Manchester City where they look at this deal and they have to think to themselves, there comes a point where you have to look beyond Sterling, beyond Mahrez, beyond KDB. There comes a stage, one or two of those three may go on to another 3 or 4 years, but maybe they want to refresh them early. Maybe they want them to go out at the peak of their powers and not 2 or 3 years after it. Now, it isn't because City need the money. We know City don't need the money. FFP looks like it's going to be seriously relaxed in the very, very near future. But as I say, we are now in this situation. Someone here says, for F's sake, 5 minutes and you're chucking shade at Liverpool. It's not chucking shade at Liverpool. It's giving a contemporary example as to why it's important to rejuvenate your team, because staleness can creep in, and that isn't unique. That isn't unique at all to Liverpool Football Club. It's every single team can go through that period. Staleness can come in, and old age can come in. Otherwise, teams would just win every single year. It even happened to a degree at City. Now, they were able to bounce back last year, but they still haven't got back to their scintillating best of 3 to 4 years ago, where they were centurions and whatnot. They were very good last year, but they've not been as good since, because a bit of tiredness comes in, a bit of boredom comes in, staleness, etc. So I think it's very, very important to go and get that done. Any questions you've got, get your member chats in, and get your super chats in as well. Terry, who scares you more, City or Chelsea? Chelsea right now. No word of a lie. Chelsea right now, I'm fearful of them. Legitimately fearful of Chelsea Football Club right now. Really, really, really fearful of them as it stands. Really, really fearful of them, because I don't necessarily think, sorry, peeps, I don't necessarily think their football under Thomas Tuchel, their football isn't as scary as Pep's or Pete Klopp's, but their efficiency is ridiculous. And I'm fearful of a summer with a full preseason and who they may bring in. If they don't sign a prolific number 9, I will be less scared of Chelsea. I really will. But at the same time, I think we need to be mindful not to sleep. I think we need to be mindful not to sleep on Chelsea Football Club. And then we see the very best of Kai Havertz next year, and we see a 20% better across all metrics Timo Werner. You know, maybe we see a Timo Werner next year whose conversion rate increases massively. So I do think there's also this element where we could probably turn around and say, I'm not worried about Chelsea. They didn't sign a number 9. And then Kai Havertz and Timo Werner turn on their Bundesliga form, a year in. We've already, we've seen pictures in the last day or so of Donny van der Beek and how, the 6, 7, 8 pounds of muscle that he's put on. Let's see if that benefits him. Don't sleep on the likes of Kai Havertz and Timo Werner doing exactly the same thing. So, but when I say I'm not scared of City, I just know what to expect from them. I think what's the fearful element with Chelsea is I don't know what to expect from them. I don't know how good or bad they're going to be, and that's fearful. With City, you pretty much always know they're going to be good, so you know what to expect. Let's do a few more of these comments here. João Felix would be perfect for Pep's system. It's a good shout. Maria Williams in the house says, do you think City will get Kane? I have a feeling they will. The Kane news has gone very, very quiet again after what happened last week with the Sun headlines and the Sun news and the Kane camp saying it's close. It's gone excessively quiet. Have you all noticed that? Like, there's no noise at all. That's a little bit scary. I still don't think Harry Kane's returned from his holiday. That's what we've got to wait for. Do you know what? It's one of those things. It's almost, what's that feeling and emotion going to be like when he walks back into the dressing room, when he's back in and around his teammates? That for me is what's going to be key, absolutely key to this. The end says it's too quiet, in my opinion, and I feel the same, actually. What does this move mean for Raheem Sterling? I very much doubt Raheem Sterling is going to leave this summer. There was talk about it earlier on. The fact it hasn't happened already, I don't know where he would go right now. Arsenal inquired. Excuse me, I've had a long day. Arsenal inquired. Raheem Sterling has no desire to go there. He can't go United. Liverpool don't have the money for him. Chelsea don't have the squad space for him. He's not going to go and play for Paris Saint-Germain. He has no desire to go to Germany. Real Madrid and Barca are not in a position to buy him. Real Madrid want to try and get Mbappe this summer or next, mainly next summer, really. Sorry. So he's got to stay. Whether Pep wants him to or not, he's got to. Mahrez also. So I actually, it depends, I think if Harry Kane and Grealish come in, you may see one of them moved on. But if it's only Grealish or only Harry Kane, then I would expect to see them all stay. That would be my view. top man there, Lincoln. We have a super chat here that says, if City get Grealish, do you think they will win the Champions League? That's a really good question. They've got a chance. There is certainly a mental block in the Champions League for Man City. I'm convinced of it. And they've got further and further under Pep Guardiola, to semi-finals and now final. But still in that final, mistakes were made. Players that started or were dropped that shouldn't have done, didn't stick to his guns. I think that there's a certain mental block. There's a certain concern there. Is Jack Grealish going to be enough for the Champions League? I don't know. Premier League makes them heavy favourites unless Chelsea do pull off the Haaland signing. If Haaland comes in, then I see Chelsea winning the league. Not at a canter, but I see them winning it convincingly. Kane will sign City after Grealish, is what Diego Lopez thinks. It's going to be interesting indeed to see if that happens there. I mean, Spurs are notoriously difficult, very difficult to negotiate with. Probably the hardest club in the Premier League to try and do business with, there's no doubt. But as I've already stated, let's wait to see the feeling that Kane has when he comes back. Maybe Kane comes back and actually thinks, do you know what? Nuno's got the place feeling good. The squad's excited. We've got 3 or 4 good players on the way. Maybe I won't push so hard this summer for the move. Maybe he walks in and just thinks, oh, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in this environment. And he looks to go and walk away. I want to do some of the comments here from our brilliant viewers over on Twitch. First one here says, Dortmund, Sterling 50-50. A good evening to you. I hope you're well. Any Liverpool news updates from Matthew? That's over on Twitch. Liverpool situation is very, very quiet at the moment. My view is this. I think Yuri Tillemans, I think Saul Niguez are both deals that Liverpool are legitimately working on to try and complete. There was talk this morning about Traore from Wolves. I think that's another deal that Liverpool are looking at. But I think it isn't so much sell to buy. They just need to know they can get players out before they act and before they move. I would anticipate Liverpool working on at least 2 transfers in addition to the signing of Ibrahima Kounde that came in earlier on in the season. Yes, Twitch gang doing their thing. Let's do a few more here. Hermit here over on Twitch also said, to be honest, I still think the deal might fall short. Then again, it's not exactly a deal that comes every day. It'd be interesting to see what happens in the next few days in relation to Jack Grealish. And you're absolutely right. This is City are briefing the media that they are confident. And that's coming directly from Manchester City, which is great that they're confident, but they have to put the right offer in. We, of course, had Rob on the show earlier today, very respected, very knowledgeable journalist who doesn't believe, who just outright does not believe that this deal is going to get done. Doesn't see City spending that level of money on either him or Kane. So everyone has a difference of opinion. Everybody's hearing different things. I'm quite neutral on this. I can't decide either way. I'm stuck in the middle. I've had a number of conversations with journalists. I've spoken to a few agents, and I've had a 50-50 response. And my view is very much this. I don't have the contacts that these agents and the journalists have with the football clubs and with the players. So I'm basing my knowledge on what other people are telling me. So my opinion is being formulated based on the factual information I've been given. And half the people are telling me they've been told that City are really confident. There's another half of people who are telling me that Villa are absolutely adamant they're not getting rid of him. So I can't be anything other than stuck in the middle. If I was going to put some money on it, I would bet that City will pull this off. If I'm edging one way, it's towards City pulling this off because they need to sign someone. Because I'm telling you this now, if City don't bring in a marquee signing, I do not think they'll retain their Premier League title. The same thing I just said about Stourness, I think will creep in. I really, really do think it will creep in. Tahir says here, Terry, will you do a predictor show before the start of the season about who will win each trophy? Yes, my brother, we've got all of those shows planned. As we move more into next week, you're going to see more and more shows along that theme and along that base. So that's absolutely coming, my friend. No doubt about it whatsoever. Thank you for that super chat. Do me a favor to everyone who's new that's tuning in. Please hit that like and that share button. To all of our viewers over on Twitch as well, make sure you've hit that follow button. Subscribe over there also. That would be great. Bean Plays says, hey, Terry, your interview with Rob today and the Stretford Paddocks interview with Raphael really motivated me as a United fan, provided much needed positivity. A big portion of Man United fans are so toxic on social media. I wouldn't say a big proportion. I would say a loud portion of Man United fans are very, very negative when it comes to very, very negative when it comes to Manchester United. And look, they're entitled to be. That's their right to be. They're allowed to be. Like I said to Rob today, I separate Ole Gunnar Solskjaer into three different people. There's Ole the man, pure respect for him. 4, okay, if you want. The man, pure respect. The player, legend. And then there is the manager and there is the coach. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, the manager, has done an impeccable job. What he has been building and developing, from the respect from the players towards the club and the management and the fans, the transfer processes, the squad, has been impeccable. The way he conducts himself professionally, yes, it may be boring. He isn't winning any popularity contests. He would definitely be voted out week 1, week 2 if he was in on the X Factor, but he would probably win something like Big Brother because you'd watch him enough and go, such a nice guy, never slagging anyone off, never any subliminals, nothing like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's a good guy. There are question marks over his coaching ability. But one thing I've said is this: the fact that there are players like Rafael Varane and Jadon Sancho that have said, we want to come and play for you, that's making me give him a chance. And when I say give him a chance, after one game, I'm not going to be saying Ollie out. I'm never going to become an Ollie outer because I don't want to sit with those individuals. Do you get what I mean? I just can't do it, mate. Do you know what I mean? It's just one of those ones. But listen, there's a lot for Man United fans to be positive about and excited about ahead of this new campaign. That there is just no doubt about it whatsoever. Let's get the stream, ladies and gentlemen, please, past, let's say, at least 350 likes whilst we are live on the air. I've got Daniel coming on with me very, very soon to have his say. A lot of people are asking for Kounde update as well. I will provide that to you. I got in a bit of trouble today. Well, I say got in trouble. I've got a couple of people that are mentoring me through my journey now into what I'm going into. That'll all become clear soon. And I've got a bit of a I got a bit of a bollock in the telling off today. It made me laugh. I will tell you about it as well after give you the Kounde update as well. They were just like, not like that. And I was like, all right, I won't do that again. I won't do that again. I got my fingers burnt. But I got my fingers burnt. I'm still very confident in what I've said. I just didn't follow the mantra, but we'll go through that in a little bit there. I'm just going to change the settings here because we've got some spammers in the house and the spammers do my nutting. So we'll just I'll have to put the comments on slow mode, I'm afraid, to stop that nonsense that we see on there. I've got Daniel's here with me now. How's it going, mate? Oh, I can't hear you, but you're not muted. I can see you've had a haircut though. It looks fresh. Still no sound. It could be me. Let me just check that I haven't got the wrong settings on. There you go.
Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Got you now, bro. Got you.
Perfect, man. Perfect. Yeah, man. Got a cheeky little trim. A lot of people wanted the little fro type dreads look to go. So yeah, man. Had to go. But what we say that again?
You wanted that.
You wanted to go? I can't say it on air, man. Can't be saying putting that business out on there.
See, if it's a girl, I'll respect it. If it's like an employer, we got to out them, bro. Do you know what I'm saying?
There's no employer in the world that could have made me cut my hair. I would have laughed in their face.
Yeah, it's mad. But in fairness, I had a member of staff once. I took him to the barber to get his hair cut. But he had like, how can I explain this? You know, white people, right? Where like the sideburns are getting like really like they're too long and the ears, hairs over the ear. It wasn't his haircut. It was like it was too stylish or it was out there. It was beyond natural hair. It was like it hadn't been cut in about 4 months, and he looked awful. And he used to wet look it down in the morning. And I spoke to him. I said, "Look, can I take you to go and get a proper haircut and get them to show you how you should style it with some matte clay or something?" And he was like, "A product." So he let me, took it. They had to wash it first. And it looked good. And he come back and he looked sharp in his suit. This was in a bank as well. Like he had to look good. So I did do it once. Yeah. Not from a place of hate. It was like, I want to do you a favor, my friend. It was.
I hear you.
After that, in fairness, he kept his hair good after that. I think he saw a difference in himself. Thought, oh, look, I look better. Like I said, like it was wet looking onto his head. Like
it's when you get more compliments as well. You realize, oh, so my hair was actually that bad before. Do you know what I'm saying? So it's the comparison, man.
Yeah, 100%. In terms of what we're talking about tonight, so the main talking point is Jack Grealish, and these reports now that the talks are advanced, that a decision in the next few days is going to be made. City are saying they're very confident they can get this deal done before the end of next week or at some point next week. Just wanting to gauge your view whether or not you think it's a deal that you see happening.
See it happening. Could happen. I think my focus around Grealish is I'm just not too bothered. I don't think the hype, like, you know, when you've got so many gems in your team and you add someone who's considered a gem, but then when he gets into, it's like one thing my teacher used to say, and I never really knew whether it was a compliment or not, was that she never wanted me to move schools because she said that, you're one of the most valuable assets in our school right now. So I don't want you to go to a better school and be a small fish in a big pond type of thing. So it's like that double-edged compliment, but backhand, I want to limit you kind of thing. And I just think Grealish, he's one of the best players in the Premier League. When he goes City, how does he do better than Foden, who's probably the ascending star? You got Mahrez, who's there. You got Sterling, who's England's, when he's playing well, England's sweetheart. You got a number of guys. Ruben Diaz is still kind of like, he's going to be like the leader, the face of that team. So where does Grealish kind of fit into all of this? KDB is still going to be the main man at Man City for the next 2-3 years. So for me, it's like, how does Grealish, like, if I throw the question back at you now, even if the deal does happen now, because I think it's more about looking at how he fits into what Man City are going to do, because that's why I think it won't even happen in the end. They don't really need Grealish. Grealish doesn't win them the Champions League. They can win the Champions League with the team they have right now. It's about the mentality. It's about how they can stop Pep from overthinking certain situations. If I throw this question back at you, like, do you think Grealish gets that free roam role he had at Villa, at City? Like, does he get that?
Well, I see the deal happening. Like I've said, I just head towards it, but I've heard a lot of people say they don't think it will. But that's more from a Villa point of view than City, is in City not going for him, or paying the price. I agree with you though in terms of, you know, we did the rankings the other day of what signings will make it, what will flop, like from my point of view, Dean Jones put this in my head, so I can't plagiarize and steal someone else's words. It was sort of one of the reasons, like Pep Guardiola and Gareth Southgate don't play the same style of football, but they have the same mantra, which is it's a highly functioning system. And everyone's got a role that they have to adhere to. And Jack Grealish is a free spirit. Jack Grealish, for me, is more suited to an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer style manager than he is maybe a Pep Guardiola or a Thomas Tuchel or even a Klopp, where like you think, and listen, that's why those managers right now are better than Ole.
Yeah.
Ole does allow a certain level of freedom. Pogba gets a lot of freedom. Bruno gets a lot of freedom. Rashford has a hell of a lot of freedom. That's why he's often running into corridors, because he's just told to, it's almost Fergie-esque, go and express yourself, son. And at the moment, like the most functional managers are the ones that stick in. I'm intrigued to see how Jack Grealish does when he's told to track, when he's told to stick to a certain position, when he can't drift as much that he does. because Raheem Sterling, for instance, like people just they underrate his work rate off the ball, the tracking, the coming back into positions, and it's why Mason Mount was preferred in particular games for England at the Euros over Grealish, I think, because of the defensive elements. And fans don't like that. But the one thing about Pep Guardiola's system that impresses me the most is their defensive work rate. People talk about the tiki-taka and the beautiful stuff, but the reason they have the ball so much is because they win that damn thing back so quickly. You only get that with perseverance. And I don't know if that's Jack Grealish. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether he fits. He's going to do brilliant things in a City shirt. He'll score some great goals. Every game he's going to pull off skills and flicks and tricks. I'll give you an example. Eden Hazard wouldn't be successful in a Thomas Tuchel system, in my opinion. Not as successful as he was prior, where he was less regimented. And for me, like, his best season I ever saw him in a Chelsea shirt actually was one where you guys didn't do that, was the Sarri season, because Sarri allowed, for me, more freedom. You know, when he was playing on the managers that were, again, very system oriented, very regimented, the Contes and the Jose Mourinho's, yes, you won league titles and did things, and yes, he played well. But I think someone like Eden Hazard needs to be treated a bit more like Ronaldo was treated at every club he's been at, where he's just like, you can just go and do what you want. And he still had that to a degree under Conte. I'm not saying he didn't, but Tuchel's so regimented. I just think you nullify people. Like, certain players to me just need freedom. And that's why I feel about Jack Grealish. Like, of course, he's going to do good things, and he isn't going to suddenly go there and look shit because he's in a regimented system. But yeah, I'm just something about it. You know, something about a deal just sticks in the back of your mind, and I'm not even too sure what it is, but that's how it feels to me. But it's certainly one that City are confident in, and Pep Guardiola seems to really like him. So I'm sitting there saying, does he really fit Guardiola's system? I think Guardiola disagrees with me. Like, Guardiola thinks that he's gonna. So I have to respect that as well. Like, I can give my opinion, but I also have to sit there and think, but Guardiola must know this and must think he can get it out of him. So, you know, it's an interesting one. I mean, what he's done with, if you think about what he's done with Raheem Sterling, no one thought Raheem Sterling would be the prolific goal scorer that he's been for the majority of his time under Pep. But Pep got that out of him. So, you know, maybe he thinks he can do the similar thing with Jack Grealish, maybe. No,
there's definitely. Look, I think the free roll thing is definitely interesting. It begs the question as well, like, what is Pep? What are Pep, and Man City thinking about when it comes to their striker situation as well? Because I do agree with Rob in the fact that, even though he didn't say this word for word, but I'm kind of taking it that step further, where I don't see them buying Grealish and buying Kane. Like, I just don't see that happening. Like, I don't, like, 80 to 100 mil on Grealish, and then about 80 to 100 mil again on Kane. That would be some monumental, like transfer window that we've just never seen before. Like, since I don't think anyone splashed that kind of money on two players since PSG bought Mbappe and Neymar. That kind of region of money, where we're spending the 100 mils twice in one season. So
it would almost, I mean, it's a different kind of scenario, but it will be like seeing Mascherano and Tevez hold up West Ham shirts. It'd just be like, I can't believe that.
Yeah.
That was mad. That, do you know that when they signed those two players, they were in the Europa League and they were made favourites to win the Europa League after that signing?
The funny thing is, till this day, I never knew the hype around them. Like, I must have been the only person who didn't know that these guys were like gems that West Ham managed to get. I was like, who the hell? Like, you know, when small, like, to be fair, West Ham were small, so I can say this. This is a top 6 show anyway. There's no West Ham fans here. So West Ham were a small club that just got Mascherano and Tevez. And you know, when small clubs get their signings, you're like, yeah, cool, whatever. You move past it. And then I just see them playing. The funny thing is, they were still in the relegation battle, but they Tevez basically saved them. Like,
well, but only, I don't think he scored till like March, and Mascherano just had a nightmare, and it's one of those things. Yeah. But I remember when they signed, and it was just, I remember being like, I can't believe West Ham. And I'm just trying to think of equivalents for youngsters. It would be like this summer, if you look at their age, it would be like this summer, West Ham signing Haaland, and in terms of hype around those players at the time, it'd be like signing Haaland and who's a really good, exciting up-and-coming midfielder that everyone's chomping at the bit at. Jude Bellingham.
Oh, Jude Bellingham.
Or Camavinga, yeah. It'd be like West Ham just pulling that off and everyone going, where's everybody else? Like, where? But then we found out it was all done dodgily. There was an agent involved. There was all sorts of mad went on. And it's like, that's why it happened.
No,
like,
brilliant. Someone even said it's like Barcelona going through their troubles. Then West Ham just announced the signing of Pedri. Like, you would lose your mind if that happened.
Absolutely. It would. You'd just be sitting there going, "What?" Yeah, it'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. But yeah, I don't know if they're gonna bring into. It's gonna be difficult. We've got some super chats here. It says Terry, do you think Chelsea would try and get Haaland done before the Super Cup final? Would be a shame for him to miss out on that trophy. Mate, I'm just slowly starting to become more and more skeptical that this bid that a number of people have been speaking about in one way, shape, or form. I don't even know if we're ever going to be told. Do you know who's been really quiet recently? I don't remember seeing any transfer updates from Chelsea about him at all. Is Matt Law. I can't.
To be fair, he put on the 17th of July, I believe it was, he put a waving emoji. So he could be on a break.
It could be. I mean, maybe they're waiting for him to get back, Chelsea. I don't know. But do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, we ain't doing nothing till Matt's off holiday. Once he's back from Benidorm, then we'll do the deals. But this is the thing with me. It's eerily quiet. And like I've said all along, you know, when I spoke to the agents and connections that we had around this deal, they spoke about Roman being happy to sign it off. They spoke about him wanting to do it. They spoke about Tuchel wanting him immediately. They said that they're putting this together. And this is where fans, I don't have any fear in this, because if you don't listen, you don't listen. One of the things that I've said in nearly every stream about the Haaland situation, Aaron, and thank you for your super chat, sir. One of the things I've said the whole way through is being and being consistent about is the element of, and I want to make sure I say this in the right way, is that element of Chelsea have to think long and hard in the same way City do about the precedent they're going to set both internally and externally with a signing like him. FFP plays a massive part in that as well. And then it's the knock-on effect. So we'll see whether it comes in. And plus, on top of that, it's about the advice. Chelsea are not going to put that bid in until they know 110% Dortmund are accepting it. And if the day before they're thinking of doing it, the advisors say they are going to say no to you, Chelsea will just walk away. And then what you'll see from a Matt Law type person is they haven't been thinking about it for weeks. What are you talking about? And then what you'll get is Chelsea fans say, I can't believe we got dragged. No, they were thinking about it 100%. They just pulled out and didn't do it. You know, we're seeing this all the time now with the way deals are being. What you saw the way that the AFC Bell put out the Maddison news today. It was like they're going to try and do it, but behind the back door. No, not behind the back door. It's through intermediaries, which everybody's now using, so that if they don't land it, they can say, we never spoke to the club officially. Everyone's doing that now, and it's a tiring thing this summer when it comes to transfers. Tahir here says, as a Chelsea fan, I have a hard time not respecting United's improvement under Ollie. I think it's been easier for United to win the Premier League than the Champions League, as I think he struggles tactically in one-off games. Do you know what, Tahir? It's a great super chat. I can't put it on the screen. It already gone past by the time I got round to it. Very sorry, Tahir. Look, Man United winning. Let me point this to you. When you look at Man United, like, do you see them being title challengers, title contenders this year with this squad under Ollie?
Yeah, why not? Like, I say this all the time. Why not? Like, look, Man United, for all their flaws, they're still a good team. Like, I really don't understand like how people can't see that they're a good team. Yes, they might not be perfect. Yes, they might not play this free-flowing, exciting football. But yeah, this is a team that scored what, 8, 9 in the game? And yeah, people say they got a red card and whatnot, but that doesn't just happen. Like, you have to be a good team to be able to do that. For example, you have to be a good team to go to the Etihad and beat them and look good beating them as well. Like, do you know what I mean? So I think there's too many theories. There's too many, like, Man United aren't good in one-off games. Well, there have been one-off games where Man United have done well in. And Man United aren't good in the big games. Well, there have been big games where Man United... It's when the going gets tough for me, when the pressure is at its highest, when Man United are expected to go out and deliver. That's where the problems now arise. That's what I think has been, or that's what I think is the most consistent narrative with Man United. But that doesn't mean you're not title challengers. Title challengers often are the teams who can be in and around the race when everything's going on. But then when it gets to the heat, when it gets to that last 50-meter push, you can't really find the energy to do that. And I think that's where, I actually think that's where Chelsea are till they get a striker in, regardless of the manager we have. Like, we need a fully, because, you know, with system managers, they need a fully functioning team. They need their right personnel to go all the way. I know Tuchel won the Champions League, but everyone can admit, like, fortunate circumstances, we did play well, manager bounce, whatever you want to say. Now we've got a full season where there's going to be Champions League, FA Cup, League Cup, Super Cup, Club World Cup. Like, we're in so many competitions. It's really going to test our squad and stretch it. So Tuchel needs the right personnel. But Man United, 100%. Any Man United fan who's saying they aren't challengers, like, it's just trying to deflect, man. You're challengers, man. It's simple as that. With Varane, Sancho, come on, man. It's a good team.
Yeah, look, I sort of feel again that people that, I don't even want to use the word, like, say people are too hyperbolic with it. Like, I use that word a lot, and I don't even necessarily think it's that per se. I sort of feel like when I kind of look at these situations with Man United, there are still question marks over Ollie, but we're not as bad as people make out. And as Rob said on the show earlier, it was such a great point and refreshing to hear it. You're always going to have a group of fans that are not happy with how you're playing or the style that you have. That's never going to go away now, ever. Because of social media, noisy, negative people always get attention, whatever the subject matter is. Do you get what I mean? It's like you kind of, they just always do, because it ruffles people's feathers, no matter what they're saying or what they're doing. And, you know, you could get rid of Ollie and bring in a more expansive manager, and they will find something wrong with him or his style. And then there'll be a new group of people that are angry and annoyed about it. It'll be another manager who has favorites or has this or has that. And I think it's going to be a never-ending cycle now amongst football fans, because, and maybe it's even going to get worse, because every year, like for a good 30, 40 years, social media users is just going to get bigger numbers-wise, because it isn't, I don't want to sound harsh, the older generation don't use it. It's generally, for me, like the ages are like under the age of 50 is where the predominant usage is. So, you know, all things being well, that's 30 years until like loads of numbers every year start dropping off, without me trying to sound morbid. You get what I'm saying? But every year, millions and millions of new people come onto the platform and start using it to talk football and talk other things. So you're going to get all these different groups that show up. You know, Man United could get a new manager tomorrow, and now it's Rashford that's being dropped, and it's Rashford's fanboys that are like moaning about it and then looking for flaws in the manager to try and put him down. Yeah, I'm a bit like, I'm excited about what we can do next season. I think, to your point here, I think we can challenge with this team, and I think Ollie has to be pressured to challenge with this team next year. But of course, it would be a massive achievement for him to win the league with this kind of squad, because I think if you look at squad and managers and you line them up and put them into genuine order of who should be favourites, United are coming in around fourth. It's in expectation. So to win it would be an even bigger achievement. But this is what I mean by polarization. If Ollie does win it, big if, people that don't like Ollie will just say it's only because City, Liverpool, and Chelsea weren't good enough. And that's what they're going to say. And that's why when people are that polarized, it isn't worth having a conversation with them on a serious level, because you're never find that middle ground where you both agree on something. It will just be like they did it. And how we know that is they've set the precedent with that this year by saying, well, he didn't really come second. It was only because other teams were poor that we came second. So it was a false position.
The only excuse I will give Ollie out fans for this season is if Ollie wins the League Cup but does badly in everything else. Champions League in the group stages, maybe. The league, you maybe scrape fourth or something. FA Cup, you don't really get that far. And you win the League Cup, and that kind of covers over all the cracks of the season. You know how a trophy can cover the cracks, and especially winning the League Cup. Then you can start to ask, okay, are we really progressing? Because would you then say, obviously, again, then there's so many ifs, and it's such a huge hypothetical, and a lot of things need to happen for that to even be a thing. But if Ollie was to win the League Cup and all those things were to happen, would you say, or would you lean towards the I'm not really sure. Are we progressing as a team? Should we have done more as a team? That kind of vibe. Would you lean towards that?
I'll be blunt with you, bruv. If Manchester United don't progress in the league and/or win the Champions League,
Champions League, yeah.
They've got to. We've got to do. If we win the League Cup and the FA Cup, but scrape a shitty fourth and go out early in the Champions League, Ollie's done what he's done now. It's not good enough. Like, I agree with what Ollie, and that's because I've got to hold Ollie true to his actual word. And what Ollie said last year was, please talk about spaghetti bolognese for 2 minutes. Do you know what's mad? I'm going to do your comparison thing. For me to do a mad thing like that on one of my streams, the donation's got to be much bigger. That's like a challenge. Just sort of spag bowl for that long. But I feel like for me, I'll hold Ollie to his word. Ollie said last season, people twisted it into winning trophies is for egos. He's saying that trophies not important. That wasn't what he said at all, or what he meant to the full context of his conversation. He said that you don't progress in the league but win an FA Cup, it doesn't mean that you've gone forward as a team. He was taking a shot at Arsenal, and we all agree with that because we all said to Arsenal fans, you didn't improve last year just because you won an FA Cup. But yet when Ollie said it, it was like, why is he saying trophies are not important? I found that weird. So I'm holding Ollie true to that. I want to see progression in the league and Champions League. Of course I want to win FA Cups and League Cups. Of course I want them. However, if we win both of them easily, we get Chelsea in the first round, then Liverpool, then City, then Arsenal, and beat Spurs in the final. That still ain't good enough. As long as if we're not progressing in the league. Do you get where I'm coming from, bro? Like, that for me is what I want to. That's the standards that I want my football club to hold when it comes to being on the pitch, and we're at that point now where we have to start holding him kind of close to that.
Yeah.
A lot of people asking for Jules Koundé update. So I'll be very, very open and honest about this. I haven't changed my stance from the other day based on people that I've spoken to, journalists I've spoken to, contacts of two of the football terraces that are based in France, have a lot of connections to the French and Belgium teams. They believe the deal is done. They believe it's at a point where there's no going back. Chelsea and Sevilla are in a very, very good place. What they've said are multiple layers to this deal. So there's a couple of offers that Chelsea have made, one that includes cash, one that includes player swap deals. They did iterate yesterday, and we put it into the thread on Twitter when we put it out, that there's a few what they call formalities or minor issues in relation to the finances and the swap deal element, which is kind of being, we put that out yesterday. It's kind of been confirmed today in a different way. And that does revolve around Zuma, because Zuma's now got interest from West Ham United. So the player's deliberating whether he wants to go and play for Sevilla or whether he wants to go to West Ham. But as Fabrizio said earlier on today, in no direct words, he just said, basically, relax. The deal isn't over. Just stay calm. And that's because Chelsea are in a position to, okay, we can't do that. Then the secondary offer comes in, which is just more money. So there is nothing for Chelsea fans to panic about. Where I got a little bit of a telling off today was you should have just said soon, Terry, rather than done, even though we are telling you that this deal is done. Don't worry about it. You just don't put that much pressure on yourself. And as I spoke to you about it earlier, and I was just like, well, I don't necessarily feel the pressure because I trust the people that are giving me the information. So as far as I'm concerned, he's going to be a Chelsea player. The deal is very, very close to being announced. Chelsea are in a very comfortable position. It's not even about Chelsea, Kounde, Sevilla. It's about the structure of the payments. But in this instance, the structure of the payment includes a swap deal, which are so hard to get done because of scenarios like West Ham coming in. But Chelsea are willing to make up. If they sell Zuma, they're willing to make up part of the transfer of cash. Kounde is buzzing about joining Chelsea, as per Fabrizio's words. Personal terms are no problem. He wants to come to the Premier League. There's not been a single report that says if the Zuma element falls out, Chelsea are walking away. That hasn't been said. So yeah, I would say to Chelsea fans that are tuning in, just remain relaxed. And I've now learned in the space of a day why journalists stagger news. That's all I'm saying. Like they just, I learned. I was like, yeah, that's why. Because like I'm really relaxed in terms of what I've been told, but it's more. It was crazy, right? Someone come to me today and they were like, "You said this." I said, "Did you read this part of my thread?" "Oh no, I didn't." "Do you think that's true?" And then no one is going to use the same wording as me. And then someone said, "Oh, there's some issues with the swap deal element, and the finance is not quite being right." And everyone's like, "Oh, okay, you did say that," but and I'm like, "Yeah, next time." I'm just putting the word soon next to it. That's all I'm going to do. And then just and leave it a day or two. But listen, I'll be honest. I'll be honest with my viewers, as I always am. Since my immersion with Snack, I've got a lot of access to new things. I got a bit excited. And I stand by what I've said. I'm not changing my stance on it at all. Jules Koundé, in my opinion, will be a Chelsea player. I believe the way the deals have been offered. I don't believe the news that's come out today, for instance, from Goal, is news today. I think this has all been part of the process they're going through. We saw this very much with the Rafael Varane deal. It was just, and I kept on saying, listen, it's legalities and process and structural payments. Yeah. Everyone relax, it's going to happen. It's the same circumstance here. I should have just, I just more so for my own sanity, because my DMs have been mad today, bruv. Most of it positive, by the way. But yeah, Chelsea fans just stay nice and relaxed on that one. And yeah, it's one of the ones there.
No, I hear it, man. But obviously, just to address one of the previous super chats, and I feel like I've been one of the only Chelsea fans who's really said that this Haaland deal, I've just never been confident about it for a number of reasons. Like I said, when it comes to transfers, Dortmund are the weirdest club in football history when it comes to the way they deal with their transfers. They would happily, and not even because they have malice with clubs, but they will happily wait a year if they just think they want to keep someone for a year. They will happily let someone go for free. Like, if it means, yeah, we'll keep them for one more year, it's calm, like we're not bothered kind of thing. They will come out and say, this guy's not for sale, you pay the money, then they'll sell them. Like, so Dortmund are a club where it's very, very weird. And like, I've been so confident in the fact that if Haaland did not or does not put in a transfer request, I just don't see it happening, even if we do pay the money, because are Chelsea going to pay £170 million for Erling Haaland? I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. I don't know why I'm not convinced, but I'm not convinced. Obviously, the reports again came out today that Chelsea approached Lukaku, which I'm sure they would have in the undergrounds or kind of thing, to see where Lukaku's head is at. And apparently Lukaku's focused on Inter and all of that kind of stuff. But then you obviously have the question of, if you say 130 million to Inter, do Inter say no to that kind of money, because they're in desperate need for money? Like 130 million will probably change their lives. It's like winning the lottery for them. Do you know what I'm saying? So there's so many things going on, but we just cannot compete if we do not buy a top level striker. It's impossible. We can't compete. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I think it's as in you can't compete without a top level striker. It's just whether or not this bid goes in, and it's been the one element of the deal where no matter how many people say, I've read some Chelsea are going to make it. I've said, but then it's like some journalists said that it will be accepted, and some have said it won't be accepted. That's the bit no one's sure on, and it's Chelsea make the bid, then they're going to have to be sure. But it's going to be intriguing to see. A lot of people have said it's coming next week. I don't know what's significant about waiting till next week. Maybe it's getting Kounde out the way. Maybe it's some more players off the books. So maybe because there's reports today of Tammy's price being slightly dropped. Because what's happening is West Ham have held back on Tammy, and so are Arsenal now. Arsenal are looking at Martinez, even though like a lot of the Italian top boys today, like Tancredi Palmari, have said that there's zero chance. They're still looking to try and do it. I still think there's this element of, if you were to sign Haaland first or Lukaku first, whoever, Tammy becomes surplus to requirements, thus his value drops. So I think they're waiting, and these are the nuances within these deals that I think fans have got to learn to understand why they take so long, because it's who blinks first in that regard. By the way, the Kounde deal, a lot of people are asking about what that means by double layered offers. Essentially, what I asked the agent about today was very much, what does that mean? It's Chelsea have said these are the two ways we can pay for it, and they've both been accepted by Sevilla. The deal is done in relation to that. But of course, when you do a player swap deal, the next stage is, can we get the player to agree to join? It isn't a case of it's a swap deal only. There's a fail safe underneath it. That's why there's no real panic in relation to the in relation to the situation. So it's beyond close. It's just finalizing payment details. If this was just about money and they were working out how much they're paying year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and looking at some of the add-on bonuses, nobody would be panicking about it. It's just because there's a player involved. But Chelsea will make the money up. They want Kounde. They've been looking at him a while. Claire here says, Terry, you're so wrong. All the Glazers require is a top 4 finish. It lines their pockets. Look at what happened to Van Gaal, Moyes, and Moaning Mo. Look, I didn't challenge that. I agree with you. I think that's been the mantra of the Glazers. But there's also a win-win in that. If Ollie comes 4th and doesn't win, or does win a trophy and they keep him, then we know this. Then we know all the rebuild stuff is only superficial. Yes, there might be better processes, but at the end of the day, if Man United's desire isn't to win the big trophies, it doesn't matter what manager's here; they're all going to fail. So again, it then stops me focusing. So the point is, if Ollie fails this season and is sacked, but say he finishes 4th and a League Cup, but still gets sacked because we were nowhere near winning the league, that tells me the club wants to progress. That's a positive. It's a positive to sack Ollie after that, but the bigger positive that the club wants to go on to win. If Ollie comes 4th, but 20 points off the top and wins a League Cup or no cup and is kept on, then it doesn't matter who our manager is, because the club doesn't have the appetite to win. The club are just happy to accept it. So I'm not happy with those outcomes, but it tells us where we are. It tells us where we are as a football club. If we do challenge and we do play better football and we're breathing down our rivals' necks, then we also know that we're in the right place right now, so we should all be happy. We're going to get one of those 3 outcomes. I can't see what the 4th or 5th outcome are. We get one of those 3 outcomes, and it tells us where we are, and that should then enable us to focus our attention on, let's all get behind Ollie. Let's all celebrate that we've fixed our problems and we're moving in the right direction, but with the new manager. Or let's forget moaning about managers and let's just put all our attention on the Glazers. Like, for me, that's why that's why I'm in such a good mood about Man United, because I'm getting my answer at the end of the year. It's like, when it's the season finale, we're going to get all the answers in the season. It feels like season finale for me, where all the loose ends are going to be, unless it's Game of Thrones or like the end of Sopranos, where you're like, what the fuck? Like, I don't need that. But yeah, I feel like we're going to get all the loose ends tied up, Claire. That's my view on it anyway. Like, that's where I think things are. Also want to say thank you here to my guy Zab. I'm going to try and pull it up on the screen, but I think it might have already gone because I've been so slow. No, I've got it here. Thank you, my friend here, Zor's son, who's upgraded his membership to a legend and super fan. A massive thank you very much for doing that. It means a great deal to me. Do some more of these comments here. Grey Wolf Dinner says, can't compete. We just won the Champions League. Chelsea fans need to realize how good our team is. Even without a new striker, we are second favourites. I think that's more for you, mate, because you said they can't compete with that.
Can't compete. We just won the Champions League. Fans need to realize how good our team is, even without a new striker. We're second favourites. I disagree. Second favourites for the league, nah. I mean, at the end of the day, Champions League is a very hard competition to win. I understand that. But like with Roberto Di Matteo, we had a good team then, but you couldn't have said the season after we were favourites to win the league after that, which is a fact. We had we've got a lot of young talent who have the ability to, or they've got the tools to get to the next level, but it's whether they can go to that next level. You still need to tie up the loose ends, tie up certain bolts here and there. Like how I see our team right now is a lot of young prospects with a lot of high ceilings, but they're not ready to consistently go out week in, week out, consistently perform. They're going to have dips. They're going to have huge dips, actually. And we're yet to see the best from a lot of players. I mean, Pulisic, we still haven't seen the best of him, and he's been at the club for about 3 years now. We're still yet to see how good Hudson-Odoi is. And like we did in the generational talent video, like he's one of the people who gets mentioned in that conversation. But we're still yet to see how good Hudson-Odoi is. Havertz, he's supposed to be he's going to be our like waiting to explode type of player this year. Werner, we're still waiting to see how good he can be, because I still have faith in him that he can maybe turn it around a bit, because of what we saw last year definitely wasn't what we expected. So to expect us to be second favourites without a striker would be disingenuous, because we had second highest XG, second highest big chances created. But if you look at the discrepancy between what we actually converted and what we should have converted, I think it was one of the worst in the history of football. Not just that season or the past 5 years, the worst discrepancy in the history of football. And that tells you a lot, because I look at a team that we were supposed to go out in the last day of the season against Aston Villa and get a win, and we lost. Like, we lost. Oh, no, we drew. Did we draw? Or we lost 2-1? Or was it 1-1? I can't even remember now.
No, you lost. You lost 2-1.
Yeah, exactly. So we lost and we didn't get the job done. So I don't believe we're ready to challenge, or we're ready to challenge, but we're not ready to go out and say, yeah, I want to take the title off City, because we don't have a striker. And that is what it comes down to at the end of the day. I will never shift on that. We need a striker for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do. I think you do too. So I would change it and say, I think you need a striker to win the league, and that's Chelsea's mantra. That's Chelsea's standard. That's Chelsea's go-to. Finishing, managers have finished second for Chelsea before and been sacked. So at the end of the day, like, it's why Tuchel's pushing for it, because as great as Tuchel is, he knows outright, straight up, if he doesn't perform, it's as simple as that. And he won't want to be let down by not having goal scorers. And look, maybe the likes of Werner are going to improve this year. Maybe the likes of Havertz are going to score more. I look at Anthony Martial last season, to take it away from Chelsea as an example and case in point. His conversion rate for the last 3 seasons at Man United up until last year was on average 27%. Last year, his conversion rate was like 8%. So for me, that's a bad season as opposed to where he's at. But Werner, again, if Werner keeps missing like he does, legitimately, Chelsea could finish out the top 4, depending on the improvements in everybody else. And I think if Werner and your strikers and your attackers don't score more goals, and your top goal scorer ends up being Jorginho in the middle because of penalties, you could be in a lot of trouble next year. From an elite club point of view, trouble, not like Arsenal or relegation. I'm just talking finishing 5th for this Chelsea squad is a disaster.
Like, terrible. And you make a great point that I should have even pointed out. Like, yes, we won the Champions League, but at the end of the day, we still have a situation where Tammy Abraham, who is out of favour, was our top goal scorer, top goal slack. From the past 2 years, he's been our top goal scorer, and he's even out of favour. Werner's had way more minutes than Tammy, and Tammy still has more goals than him, which shouldn't be the case. The fact that Jorginho was our top goal scorer just shows you that shouldn't happen. Like, that's a freak thing. Like, every time Chelsea do something, when it comes to now in our 2 Champions League wins, it's all been in it's freak situations, freak circumstances. Why can't we just be winning in normal circumstances? We're the best team in Europe. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, we need to like take our Chelsea hats off now. It is not normal for our CDM/6/centre mid to be our top goal scorer. That should not be happening under any circumstances. When we've got Pulisic, Havertz, Werner, Tammy, Giroud. Fair enough, they didn't get minutes. Hudson-Odoi. That's silly. That's BS. Like, it just can't be happening. I'm sorry.
It should. Speaking of BS, we're going to put a new poll up, and I'm going to ask Danny this question as I'm saying it. Who should be a club's penalty? Who should be a club's penalty taker is the question here. The number 9,
the best penalty
taker. The best penalty taker.
You already know my answer, man. You already know my answer. Best penalty taker at the club every single day of the week. I don't believe in the nonsense of we need to give up. Of course, we understand giving your striker the one-off penalty maybe because he's had a torrid time. But to consistently give him the penalties because he needs confidence or because your striker should be your penalty taker, no. In the history of time, there's no clear pattern that the number 9s are the penalty takers. Chelsea are even the case in point for best penalty taker at the club. Best penalty taker at the club takes the penalties. We had Didier Drogba. who couldn't even get, like, he gets slandered for his goal scoring and he was never on penalties. Do you know what I mean? So imagine you put Didier Drogba on penalties, you can add an extra 20 to 25 goals to his tally, maybe. I don't know, over the course of his career. We had Drogba, we had Morata, we had Kezman, we had Adrian Mutu, we had Shevchenko, we had so many strikers, and Frank Lampard was the penalty taker because he was by far the best penalty taker at the club. It's not even a debate. Best penalty taker.
What was really interesting, though, is like, obviously this stemmed from a conversation I had today on Twitter with United Aiden. Really good guy, Aiden. Been on the channel many times. I like the guy. I just couldn't understand or fathom. Well, I can. Where I knew where he's coming from, to be honest with you. I just didn't understand why. It was almost, sometimes you think things in your head while you're chilling at home. This guy put it out on the internet, and I don't think you should have done. Not in a horrible way, just it exposes like your agendas or your bias so much. And he basically said in his tweet that he thought he used the word odd. And it was the word odd. It was odd that Rashford was given the penalty taking duties over like the 19 and the 2020 seasons up until Bruno arrived over Anthony Martial, especially as Anthony Martial was made the number 9. And then his next statement was, and I know you've read it, because you brought, we were talking about it earlier. He said that all number 9s at top clubs take the penalties. And the whole statement confused me with, one, how is it odd for the best penalty taker at the club at that time to take the penalties first and foremost? Secondly, I threw in examples. So I said things like, well, Dennis Irwin was a penalty taker, and Cantona was a penalty taker, and Ronaldo was a penalty taker at United, and none of them were number 9s out and out. And he kind of said, I don't know, like you take an old 20-year examples of Irwin, and Ronaldo is Ronaldo, so it doesn't count. And then I started talking about Bruno, and he's like, well, what's Bruno got to do with it? And I'm sort of sitting there, and I was getting to a point where I was like, I don't know if the guy is trolling me now or he's being serious. I said, well, Bruno takes the penalties now. He's like, I'm not talking about now. I'm saying why when Bruno's a brilliant, I think he was saying Bruno's a brilliant penalty taker, so I get why he takes them. But he's the exception. Most number 9s at most clubs take them. I'm like, no, it just so happens to be the best penalty takers at the clubs, the number 9s. And a lot of the time they are the number 9s because they're the best strikers at the club and the best finishers at the club. But at the end of the day, no club in the history of football has ever picked their number 9 to be the penalty taker because he wears the number 9 or he plays number 9. They pick the best penalty taker. And I think he was, then other people were getting involved going, yeah, but maybe Rashford got it so he could boost his numbers. It's like, so if Ollie gave it out of sentiment to Rashford because he loves him, he wouldn't have just given it straight to Bruno the day Bruno signed for the club. He would have kept Rashford on them and said to Bruno, you've at least got to work for it. Well, in fairness, he was injured at the time, but it wasn't, Rashford never had them. It's like, I honestly, I get baffled by some of these takes I get on. And I'm sure the Chelsea fan base have them and the Arsenal fan base have them, where it's just like there's a constant kind of agenda to put certain players down and bolster others up. And I just thought, if your argument was, I wish Martial was taking them because he's the better penalty taker, I'd get it. But to say it's odd, I just thought it was strange. And yeah, I mean, the poll right now, 86% of people think it should be the best penalty taker. 14% do think it should be the number 9. Maybe they think the number 9 should be your best penalty taker because he's a striker. But yeah, I just, honestly, it was one of the most strangest conversations or takes on football that I've ever seen. And it was more so like he is telling me I was waffling. And I thought, I did think I don't understand what about. Like, I'm just trying to point out that no club has a policy or a rule that the number 9 takes the penalty. Every club has the rule. The best penalty taker takes a penalty. That's all it is.
It's simple, man. I mean, even if we don't want to use the KDBs and the examples of big clubs, go to Crystal Palace. Milivojevic takes the penalties for them. Christian Benteke's been on a torrid run as a striker the last couple of years. Why didn't they put him on penalties? And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, he took penalties at Aston Villa as well. He probably did. Like, I can't remember. Someone in the comments probably knows clearer than I do. But at Crystal Palace, Milivojevic is the better penalty taker. He takes them. Mark Noble. If Mark Noble's on the pitch, he's taking the penalty for West Ham because he's the best penalty taker at the club. He's got a nice conversion rate. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's numerous examples, big clubs, small clubs, where number 9s don't take the penalty. Yeah, maybe they might win it. They think they're confident and they say, I want to take this one. But more often than not, most clubs have a designated penalty. Just look at what happens when and this is obviously maybe a little bit away from the number 9 situation, but look at what happens when, because Aiden was kind of going down the narrative of, I think he was trying to say this is a reason why Martial has lost a bit of confidence, because he can't get some easy goals from penalties. Like, Aiden loves Martial, so he's trying to look for a way to almost say this is the reason why Martial's not playing well. I've seen numerous examples, and you've probably seen it as well, where players are like, I've been going through a torrid time. I've won this penalty. Let me take this penalty. I want to take it over the designated penalty taker. And they end up missing. I mean, it happened to us under Lampard. Barkley did it.
Yeah, and also, that is a great point. And again, I didn't get into that element of it because I don't think we weren't arguing, because I always enjoy my experience because he's a nice lad. It was more just we didn't even get into that part where I was like, if Martial's not the best penalty taker, let's just say he's second, third, fourth best, and he's put on those duties to boost his confidence, but because he isn't that good a penalty taker, and by the way, when Martial sets up for penalties, I never feel confident, never have done, and I love Martial, but that's my truth on him. If he misses those penalties, that fragile confidence that you've just admitted that he's got, that he needs to be given the penalties to get it dissipates even more. And as the Red Sea podcast here, man, I think that's going to be Thiago's father, man like James here, says, I think number 9 should be stepping up more in penalty shootouts, but in a game, get the best takers on it. And I agree. I actually said that, I think, in the thread as well, that I think that I want to see more number 9s in penalty shootout step up. No, I didn't say that in the thread. I was saying that with Rob earlier. I was talking about how I want to see more of that. But yeah, I just, what it comes down to for me? People, like I said earlier, I think people have got these, like, people have their agendas, they have their favorite players, but the level of reach now that you see from people trying to defend the players they like, I find it, I don't even know how to. Oh, it's Adam. Sorry, bro. So it's Adam from the Red Sea.
I think it's admirable, man.
No, I do get it. Like, I applaud the attempt, but sometimes it's just like, we all know, like, this is why the props coming out from Martial, because his days are numbered. And at the end of the day, and by the way, if he wasn't and it was Rashford, you'd have a different group of people doing it for Rashford and whatnot. Like, I've literally seen people talk about, like, with Rashford, every year those goalposts get moved, you know what I mean? And it's like, he doesn't score enough. Yeah, but a lot of them were pens. This season he got the same amount of goals without pens. Yeah, but you think he wasted too many chances. It's like, okay, cool. Like, your favorite, I don't play my players off against each other, but your favorite guy had an 8% conversion rate and you're moaning that Rashford missed too many chances. Like, it don't make any sense to me. Like, it's just crazy. But I suppose we see it with the Liverpool fan base, the way certain Liverpool fan base play Mane and Salah off again. And I just think, why? Love them both the same. Love them both the same. They're amazing. Like, preference, but love them both. Like, it's like with me, I love all my kids equally, but I do like certain ones more than others. Like, liking and loving your kids is a different thing. Like, I like that one. I don't like you. I love you all. I want none of you starve. Like, if you fell in the swimming pool, I'd jump in and get you out. But I like you more. Like, it's simple as that. I'm not saying
nah, yeah, you can't. But I even think it'd be an interesting conversation if you get everyone back. I think it's the social media thing, man. As you get to see more people's opinions, and you get to see that more people are mad. I like the saying, everyone's mad, man. I'm mad to an extent. There's some people who are madder than me to a more greater extent. And yeah, the world's just mad. Everyone's mad. But I think what would be a great conversation is if we can look back at a time when social media wasn't as prevalent, yeah, and you can maybe look at teams where for a fact, if they were playing in our time, they were going to be compared. Like, I have this theory that Lampard and Ballack would have been compared to, like, it would have been terrible to see. Like, Lampard should be out of the team because Ballack is the star from Germany. He should be dominating the midfield. He should be getting goals. Because Ballack's numbers weren't as good as they should have been. That's what social media will tell you. You know what I mean?
When you guys bought Lampard and Sean White Phillips and Joe Cole, it would have been Brexit FC talk going on. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
You would have had Shevchenko come in, and everyone who loves him, when he's struggling, it would have been like, got to give him more time. You've got to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, if I look at me looking from the outside as a Chelsea fan, Chelsea fans after year one of Drogba, flop, get rid of him, shouldn't be here. All these look at Man United one was interesting because Carrick had it. It was forum on the Man United website that used to be available, and it was mad. You'd be on the official Man United website, and you get into a forum, and then it was like a free for all. And I used to go in there and chat, and people despise Michael Carrick in there. It was a madness, and we all had friends. And the reason you knew these agendas. What I would say about younger fans, it's not them that are doing this. They've just got a platform for everyone to see it. Because we've all got a friend that had a mad take on the game that there'd be 10 of you watching a game together, and you just come out with something that's just mental. But because it was only in your friends group, you go, yeah, you'd brush it off. But suddenly, like, there could be 1,000 people like your friend that think the same thing across the world. But now that they can all see and talk to each other, it becomes like a little hub. And no, you definitely have those. Can you imagine the Lampard-Gerrard England debate 15 years ago? Social media, fucking hell. Can you imagine the
first goals in there? First goals in there.
Oh, mate, it would have been. Can you imagine every starting lineup that England put out when Scholes was being put on the left wing? Like, it would have been carnage. Mate, can you imagine when Fergie was playing like Park as a man marker and put in Phil Jones in the field?
Started an FA Cup game against Arsenal with Fabio and Raphael on the wings. Or was it Fabio and John O'Shea on the wings, or something mad like that?
Yeah, honestly, it would have just been carnage. It would have just been absolute carnage, in very much the same way that it is, in the same way that it is now. But it's just sort of like, the only thing I would say is that this generation have become too sensitive to challenge. So a lot of people, we talked about this last night after the stream I did, and it's like, I basically got told a few people don't like me in the YouTube world. It's because I challenge their opinions too much. And I'm like, well, I thought we were all here to debate. I didn't think it was meant to be the safe space where all of our opinions are held up as being as equally as good as one, because they're not. Like, not everyone's opinion is good, and we should be able to challenge each other. And it's like, if I'm on here and a caller phones up and rips into me, hang on, forget callers for a second. You've been on umpteen streams now where people disagree with me. Do I ever end it and behind the scenes like, I can't believe one of you challenged me on my show? It's like, great show, people. That was great. Like, I don't think about it. I don't text anyone like, oh, why did KJ disagree with me? It's like, it's great. Like, we're meant to have disagreements and get at each other. And it's honestly, like, people are, it's like, you're trying to embarrass me. It's like, no, bruv, you're tweeting something publicly and I'm talking to you about it publicly. It's not on me, bruv. Like, and if you're saying something stupid, I'm going to say it's stupid. But people have become, I've stopped doing it as much now, to be honest. I barely interact on socials with people, because I've learned now that most people are looking for an argument to try and turn, like, to put you in a certain way. Like, they'll ask you a question, go, oh, why is that like this? You tell them that's not what it is. And I'm like, why'd you fucking ask then? Do you know what I mean? It's like if you get home late, gentlemen, you get home late, you say, I'm going to be home at 1, but you get home at 3:30. And in the morning, she's like, time did you get in? And you say, 2:00. No, you didn't. It was 3:30. It's like, why fucking ask then? Do you know what I mean? You knew, like, you're testing whether I was going to lie. Of course I was going to lie, because I was going to try and make it sound earlier, and I took a punt and I got it wrong. But it's like, if you've got an opinion that's different from mine, just tell me it's different from mine and let's have a conversation. But honestly, it's like, Ali here says, Terry, you should collaborate with Grizz Khan. Watch this space. Me and Grizz were actually talking today, actually. Great. And you say that. I like Grizz. But listen, everyone who's tuned in, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. As we've said, City confident they're going to pull off Grealish, but we will get answers in the next few days. Jules Koundé to Chelsea, very much on in some people's eyes. From my opinion, I still think it's as done can be. Once they just get these few little financial issues and swap deal issues resolved, it will move forward. I would say still be excited. I would say relax about the situation. There still may be a few stories here or there, twists and turns. Remember, a day and a half before Man United announced they'd completed the deal for Varane, there was talk about this bid and that bid being accepted and this not being enough. I think a day before there was a report that he was going to accept this deal here. Just relax. It's in a very, very good space indeed as it stands right now.
Last thing before we close out, it's not football related, but I do have to say, disclaimer, Terry's got the best football analogies in the YouTube scene. So if anyone can recreate you need to do something about it. The viewers recreating some of your football analogies. I think it would be funny. Like some of your examples. I think it would be jokes.
Yeah, I don't even. Yeah. Some people attack them like your analogies are so shit. I think they're all right to be fair.
I think they're good. They're funny.
Yeah, sometimes I just do too many at once. I do like 3 or 4 on the bounce for the same point. It's like, Terry, you're flogging that now. Like, it's done now. Everyone gets it. Everyone gets it. Yeah, it's really funny. A really big with the Varane thing. This was actually funny because I doubted the Varane deal originally.
Mm.
It was sort of like the whole he's waiting to hear what the offer is from Real Madrid. And I think my analogy at the time was I'm concerned and I'm worried about that deal because like if somebody tells me they want to get with me and be my girlfriend, but at the same time, before they commit to me, they're waiting to see what their ex is saying. I'll be like, fuck you, I ain't waiting. Like I'm done. But in the end, it's only a few days after I said that I had a conversation with a particular person and who obviously you know about behind the scenes. I told you, and I was like, he's coming. It's cool, and that's how it is. But yeah, and analogies here to stay. Analogies here. We might do a little thing on what's your favorite analogy that Terry's ever done and see what's being said. But everyone who's tuned in, thank you to all of our new viewers and subscribers over on Twitch. A massive thank you to all of you. We're back tomorrow with more content. And just all I'm going to say to everyone watching is wish the football terrace good luck tomorrow. Because if tomorrow we can pull off what we're hoping to pull off, the sky is the limit. That's all I'm going to say. Viva Ronaldo and